Hi everyone, my name is Sammy Holloman and I am a first year doctoral student at West Virginia University, and today I am here to teach you all about harmonics and why we should practice them and how we should practice them. So for those of you who are new to this concept, the simple explanation of a harmonic is that you can play several different notes with the same fingering, and it all depends on how fast your air is, okay? So if you think about a trumpet only has 3 valves, but trumpet players can play more than 3 notes. And this is the same idea with a flute player. So if I finger a low D and I increase my airspeed and I make sure that I'm blowing fast, cool air, I am able to play higher notes above the low D, like this. So some of you may have accidentally played harmonics before without realizing it. If you were to play D or E flat in the staff and you forgot to lift this first finger, I'm looking at some of my students right now, you were playing a harmonic, right? So you can hear that the note is still there, but it's a little fuzzy and it's quite flat. So we want to make sure that when we're practicing harmonics, we are doing so with the right intention. So why do we practice harmonics? That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked me. Because they open our sound, okay? Practicing harmonics helps us create this big, beautiful, resonant sound that fills an entire room. So if you think about it, when we finger a low C, it takes a lot of air to go all the way down through all of these keys, right? Or if we finger regular C, we're only closing this one key. But if we're fingering low C, our air has to travel through all of these keys. And it creates more resistance for us. So it's kind of like if you're swimming in a pool and you have a t-shirt and shorts on versus a swimsuit. You can still swim and you can still move, but it's a little bit harder because all of the water is catching that fabric, while all of our air is catching these closed holes. Okay, and so we practice harmonics because it makes everything more challenging, creates more resistance, it's harder to get the note to speak, and then once we play the real note and the real fingering, it's really easy. So what we're doing is we're training for a marathon to run a half marathon, essentially. So when playing harmonics, the thing to know is that the lowest note that we finger, that is called the fundamental, okay? So I'm going to finger a low C. I'm going to play our fundamental note. And I'm going to blow faster, cooler air, and I'm going to get the octave above that. So I'm going to get C in the staff. And then I'm going to go blow faster and cooler air again, and I'm going to get a G out, which is a fifth above the C. And then I can get another C out. And if I blow even faster air, I can get a third above that, which is an E natural. And I can get another G. And then if I really tighten my abdomen muscles and blow super fast, cool air, I can get the 7th. I can get the B above that. Okay, and so essentially we're kind of just building a chord, right? And so with this process, we want to make sure that our abdomen is really engaged, especially the top part of our abdomen. We also want to make sure that we're increasing our airspeed. That's related to our abdomen being engaged and tight and our muscles being really contracted. And we also want to make sure that our upper lip is coming out ever so slightly. So the higher the harmonic, the further out the upper lip goes. I'm going to demonstrate that for you on the side, okay? So I'm going to finger low C. And so as I blow faster air and cooler air and my top lip comes out, my abdomen muscles get tighter and tighter and tighter, especially in this top part. So we want to make sure that our support is fully engaged in order to get a nice harmonic sound. Now let's go over some practice examples. So it's really important to practice harmonics without our music, away from it, just building the fundamental. And then it's also important if you have a part in your repertoire where you're always cracking or the note sounds really thin and frail, you can practice our harmonic, and that will eventually help you to find that resonant core of your sound. So this first exercise that I want to go over is one that I learned from my former teacher, Brandy Huddleston, and it was an exercise that she passed down to me from Jeff Zook, the brilliant flutist Jeff Zook. And so this isn't his exact exercise, but this is a play off of his exercise, and it's my version of it, of what I do now. So I'm going to put my metronome on at 60. I'm going to play low C for 4 beats. I'm going to increase my airspeed, bring up my top lip, and I'm going to play the octave above that for 4 beats. And then I'm going to do the same thing again for 4 beats. I'm going to play the G. Okay? Ready? And now I'm going to go back and forth from our fundamental note to our real fingering. And hopefully you heard by the end of that my G started to really, really open up. Okay, and so you can do that on C. I start on C and then I work my way on D flat, and I would do D flat, low D flat, the D flat above that, and then A flat. And you can do this all the way as high as you want. I personally stop at G, but you don't have to. This next exercise that I'm going to do, I'm going to start on the C fundamental, but again, you can do it on D flat, you can do it on D, you can do it on E flat. I recommend doing it on as many different notes as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play my fundamental note, and then I'm going to just slowly work up as high as I can go in the harmonic series, and then I'm going to work my way down. And the key to this exercise is to not push yourself to go farther than you are comfortable. So if that means that you can only get out the C above the staff, that is okay. You don't have to go farther than that. As you're building the skill, as you're building up the endurance, as you're building up the muscle requirements for this, go at your own pace, go at your own speed, and then as that gets comfortable, try and push yourself a little bit more. The trick or the key is to not do more than you can handle, because we don't want to create tension and we don't want to form bad habits. This is to keep us relaxed and open and build our sound, not put tension in our sound. That's as far as I feel comfortable going today in this moment. Some days I can go more than that. Today I don't want to push it. And now I'm going to work on bringing everything back down as well. And so you probably heard that I started to slip at the top. That's pretty common. The more you do this, the more control you'll get and the less likely you will slip, with what I call slipping, on all of those different harmonic series. But this is a great exercise to really teach you how to control your muscles in your air within the harmonic series. Now, when working in your repertoire, there are probably some pieces that you are playing where you get to a really high note and it is just either cracking or squeaking, or it's really thin and it's not working out as much as you want to. And so whenever that happens, my first go-to is to put a harmonic there and play the fundamental note as best as I can and create as much resistance as possible. So when I go to play the excerpt or the portion of the piece, it's really easy for me. My favorite example of adding in a harmonic to make something easier is the opening of Daphnis and Chloe. So as you know, we have our scale going up to that high G sharp, and for me, I struggle to keep it open and beautiful and resonant at the dynamic that we have. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna play the scale, but when I get up to the G sharp, I am gonna play my C sharp fundamental. And I'm of course playing this under tempo and slowly so I can really focus on my air and my sound. I can add in the technique and the tempo and the speed later. For now, we're focusing on air and sound. And now I'm going to play it as written, still under tempo, focusing on air and sound. And that already for me is more open. And it's a lot easier to get up to that G sharp than before. Another example I have for you guys is in the Grand Polonaise, that opening, the very first octave that you have can be quite challenging. And so I was working with my friend Juan Carlos on this week. He's a student at West Virginia University, and we added in a harmonic to make this opening easier for him. And so here's an example of Juan Carlos finding success with using harmonics in his practice. Do you see how it's coming out a little bit?
Right.
Yeah, try that for me.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so that is way harder than the actual A. Now play it as written with everything in mind.
Yeah. And
so go ahead.
And I had to like resist the urge to like want to smack the note as well because because I was getting used to the harmonic.
Yeah.
That's what happened the first time, I think.
So what I noticed that last time is I noticed a much more clear and clean transition through the octaves, and I heard much more resonance in your sound. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you found this video engaging. I hope you found it purposeful. I hope that you are able to incorporate these ideas and these elements into your practice. And I hope you find as much success with them as I have and as my students have. So if you have any questions, comment below. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that way you can get new updates and new videos on all of the different concepts that I'm going to be posting about throughout this semester. And feel free to visit my website posted below, and you can get access to the different warm-ups that I incorporated in today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.